Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Whatever Wednesdays discussion. We'll probably get back into some games here, but I want to talk with you guys about something that I think is going to be the next big problem in aviation. And no, it's not drones, despite what's on the screen, but it's more accessible than drones, and I'm worried about people ruining it and it being regulated out by the FCC. There's your spoiler as to what we're going to be talking about. Not the FAA, the FCC. But I do want to briefly talk about drones, because obviously they're back in the news. I believe it's in Norway. Multiple UASs, or unmanned aerial systems, have been seen flying around one of their main premier airports. We saw similar airspace incursions to a lesser scale here in the United States, and then everyone remembers the big drone scare back in New Jersey in the United States. I think it was late last year, if memory serves right. So we'll quickly cruise through the drone part, and then we'll talk about what I think is actually going to be the problematic next thing that people are going to mess with in aviation that's going to ruin it for me, you, I, and everyone else. You don't say yourself first in a sentence. Get educated. Anyway, this is the official FAA page here, and this is the outline of where you can and can't fly drones. It basically boils down to, if you're in controlled airspace, you have to receive authorization prior to doing so, and then there's this whole issue with the registration based on the weight and all this other stuff. If you're at a uncontrolled airport, you don't require authorization, provided that you remain out of Class Delta, I believe. Class Delta airspace is 400 feet and above. 401 feet and above. So if you're at 400 and below, you're good in an uncontrolled airspace area. Not an uncontrolled airport. Airspace. We're talking airspace, not airports. They make mention of the Before You Fly app. This is a official FAA sanctioned application that tells you where you're at, and based on where you're at, can you fly? Do you have to call someone or not? That sort of deal. I was going to play this, but I don't care about giving news to local news. This is visitnorway.com, and they're talking about their rules for flying drones in Norway. It's very similar to what we have here in the United States. It's just a lot of common sense stuff, right? Fines or a prison sentence. I'm for it. But look at there. Use common sense when flying drones. Crazy. Anyway. So let's get into, I guess let's talk about the price point of drones, right? So you've got, in ascending order, this is DJI's website. DJI is not the primary or the only manufacturer of consumer level drones, but they're probably one of the most widespread. I myself, at one point, owned multiple DJI drones. I had an Inspire, and I still have. I sold my Inspire on because I wasn't utilizing it to the cost that it was, so I just recovered some of that capital, and I still have a Mavic Pro. So this is the Mini 4 Pro, a sub $1,000 drone. So, for less than $1,000, once it's back in stock, users can potentially violate airspace. And again, I'm not saying that we should regulate the crap out of these things, but people are going to ruin it, and that's going to be the case. I think this used to be the Mavic Air, I think. This is a $1,100 out of the box drone. I'm not gonna ship you a sales pitch here, even though I am a DJI affiliate. The Mavic 3. This is my drone. I have the Mavic 2 actually. $2,200. And then the one that pains me the most, a $16,500 variant of the Inspire 3. Anyway, so there's a big swath of drones out there, but we're here to talk about this. Get out of here. I don't want to win a gift card. Handheld VHF, or very high frequency radios, and how affordable they are. Now, the radio that's on screen is a slightly refreshed version of the handheld VHF transceiver meaning transmit and receive, meaning you can talk to and listen to radio communications. The one that I have. I bought it many years ago for a lot more money than $235, but that's okay. And this is one of the examples. This is probably a lower middle of the road transceivers. Let's do handheld VHF transceiver. I spelled them wrong. So if I just go to the quick shopping results here, we're not going to look at Sheen, but, you know, Baofeng, dude. So I don't necessarily condone Baofeng radios. But you're talking about, in some cases, sub $100 options. You know, a fraction. This is for marine use, so I don't think it hits the aviation VHF frequency range. But there's so... Let's do aviation. Spelled that wrong too. So let's call it, you can get in, let's say you can get in 250, 200 bucks. 200 bucks gets you in the door. And again, we were just looking at the cheapest DJI drone I could find was 760 bucks. These are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tools. I love them, or I love mine, I should say. But it's going to be a problem. This is the FAA. I think this is actually part of the FARS, but it doesn't matter. It's the FAA.gov, and it's one of the EPUBs that they have online that you can read their documentation. And it effectively, you've got... There's a section in here specifically for false or deceptive communications. Now, I don't know when this was written. I don't know when this was written, but I would imagine it's been refreshed somewhat recently, within like the last, I don't know, few years maybe. I know the FAA and the government as a whole, the federal government specifically, doesn't move super fast when it comes to stuff. That's why we still have lead in our avgas. But anyway, there's a section on deceptive communications, and what you're supposed to do as an aviator in an event for this. And I don't know what to do. As far as I understand, the radio frequencies, all of them, low band, HF, UHF, VHF, are all regulated by the FCC, not the FAA, the FCC, even though the FAA does use VHF and UHF, and I think in some cases HF. I think, aren't like Loran, if people still use Loran, I think that's on the HF frequency. You need a big long antenna to use it. VORs are VHF, so you're going to be able to pick those up. So the FCC, as we've seen in the past, is a lot faster and looser to regulate on, well, everything. But it wouldn't surprise me if people got, and I'm hoping this video doesn't encourage people, you know, that's part of the risk of doing stuff like this, is, you know, exposing how cheap and low the barrier to entry is for would-be malicious actors. But yeah, I don't know, it worries me. There's examples out there of, I think there was a kid in like a bathtub or something, he claimed, who was just talking out on VHF. And there's very little you can do as far as, you know, triangulation and enforcement. Obviously, a radio, when it transmits in all directions, and you could theoretically, in a perfect world, use various receiving stations to triangulate, 3 or more, I believe, radio stations to triangulate where that transmission came from. But that's not going to work in a perfect world. If someone's just driving by an airport or something like that, and they're, farting into the radio or something like that, then there's really nothing you can do, because they're just driving by. They're in a car just like everyone else is in a car, and they're click it on a couple times, and it's like, oh yeah, the transmissions came from this main road going past the airport. Okay, well, how do you figure out who did that, right? Whereas with a drone, that drone's got to fly back, or more than likely will fly back to the would-be assailants, right? And you can visually, and in some cases electronically, track that drone to wherever it might be going back to, and find your culprits. I don't know. I think that's it. In the end of this little rant, I've been talking for 11 minutes now, so that's it. If you are interested in this is the part where people are actually interested in getting into the VHF world responsibly. Stick around. There's a lot of options out there, and I'm certainly not qualified enough to tell you what's going to be best for your specific needs. But I do recommend, if you are getting into this hobby, maybe start out with a lower budget receiver that only can listen to communications. That way you don't accidentally bump the button to transmit or anything like that. But there are some neat things that you can do. I have, with express permission from controllers, relayed information to aircrafts on, there's a blocked part of the ramp of one of my local airports where it's really hard to get transmissions in and out. So I've gotten to relay ATC communications to and from aircraft. That's really cool. I don't know if I can find it, but there's a video I have of many years ago. One of the things at uncontrolled airports, or airports that close after a certain hour, is all of the lights at the airport are controlled by a set of VHF radio clicks. So you click, I don't remember what it is, I think it's 5 times for full brightness, 3 times, or 2 times to dim, 3 times to go bright. Stuff like that. So you can, do that, waste your local municipality's electricity for like 20 minutes or something. But yeah, it's a fantastic tool to have. I recommend that everyone have... Okay, I won't say I recommend everyone have one of these. You should have an emergency radio for like weather or something. And part of the reason I picked up the... mine is the Futaba Pro, so I don't know if the 450L is the exact model that I have, but part of the reason I have the radio that I have is I can take it off of the FAA channels. I can use it as a weather radio. I can transmit on a few other frequencies with the appropriate licensing, and it has a removable antenna, so I can switch to a different antenna type if I need to hit a different frequency range. It's also able to use DC power, so if I need to really put out some high energy low band signals, I can do that as well, again with the appropriate licensing. So that's it. It's now 13 minutes that I've been talking, so I'm going to let you get on with your day. Have a very good day. I will catch you in the next video. Thanks for listening, and hopefully this doesn't become an issue, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it might, unfortunately, in the near future. So if that does happen, don't blame me, but tell me that I was right in the comments below. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, take it easy.